Welcome back to McCarthy Performance. This video is going to have a bunch of stuff where I've finishing up on some projects. We're hanging rods for the 283. That video didn't turn out as good as I'd liked it to. Unfortunately, it was really hard to video that and have some good clear content on that, but I think you'll get the idea. We're doing the rods for the 283. We're finishing honing the 283 block in this video. We're right at the place where we're going to plateau hone it. So that's basically done. We're doing a jug for, I believe it's a bike. It's a single cylinder. So we're doing that in this video, and I go through some of the geometry setup, kind of how I do it. I'm not going to get really into it completely. It's maybe you'll pick up a few things with it. I don't know. I hope you get something out of the video. Thank you for watching my channel. Yeah, welcome back to McCarthy Performance. We'll be hanging some 283 pistons today. I don't go to purple on these. I only go to when they start going to a change of color from this to like start turning brown. So this one's starting to get there. You can see it's a little bit brown. Look in this piston pin bore and you can tell. I always make sure that there's no oil in the pin when I heat it up. It's just, that's the way I was taught long ago, and that's the way I do them. You just want to double check this stuff. You sure don't want to put a pin on, hang the piston on the piston pin, hanging it on the rod wrong. Getting the pin out is not fun. See, it's starting to turn brown. I'm going to stick it in there a little bit more. It's because I just pulled it out. I don't want it to be cold. Okay, hot enough. There's more holes in that sleeve than there is sleeve. You got to really be careful with these when you do them. There's a hole here, hole there, hole on the sides. This is very delicate. Don't put a lot of pressure on the hone. I realize the stones I have aren't exactly the stones that you should use for this, but I do it. I've done it many a time and it works. You just got to be careful. You really got to watch your pressure. So this had more bell at the bottom than it did at the top, and when I was honing it, it was still taking more out at the bottom than at the top. So I flipped it around so I could control the bottom better. I could watch it better. So it's still taking more out at the bottom than at the top. So I'm going to flip it back around and try to take some of the choke out of the top. Right now we're less than a half a thousandths out of round at the bottom, but I can see this better. So it's still wanting to take a little bit more off at the top. That's okay. I'm going to flip it back around and I'm going to finish honing it. I'm going off the oversize of the piston. I have the micrometer set for the exact size of the replacement piston, and then I'll be honing out additional on top of that for clearance. But it had a lot of wear around these port windows, and for me to exactly see it better, I flipped the jug around. That may be contrary to your thought on that, but that's how we're doing it. I don't, right now I'm waiting to line bore the 283 fuel injected engine. I've got another 383 that I'm going to be putting together next week. Don't have anything more exciting to share with you this week, unfortunately. This is about it. Thank you for watching. Okay, we got the jug flipped back around because I'm chasing some taper out of this. So I'm going to hone it this way and monitor the bottom because there's no material on the bottom and the skirt wants to open up. There's a lot of holes in this thing, and I realize the stones that I'm using aren't quite the stones that you should be using, but that isn't the issue why it's opening up. Like I said, I've done this before with the stones that I have. Monitoring the pressure on the stones is key to keeping these things straight. They want to move around. There's lots of windows in here for the ports. So we'll hone a little bit on it after I got it flipped around, and I might have to flip it again. I could do this on my sun and rod machine. I have a mandrel big enough to run it through there, but I don't have the option of stones like I do with the AN head. And these things are knuckle busters. If you've ever tried to hold onto one and if it's ever caught, they'll spin around and they'll raise holy hell with your fingers. So I got it bolted down to my faceplate here, and I just as soon do it this way. It's not a struggle for me, so it just takes a little bit more time to do these. Key to these is light pressure, hone it a little bit, walk away, let it do its thing and cool off, and then come back and hone it a little bit more. Okay, we're 2,000. We're 1 down here. I know we're 0 down here, so I got to take one. I got to take out. Yeah, it's got some taper in it. Up here, it's choked right up because that's where all the sleeve is. Down here, there's nothing. There's a whole lot of nothing there. So we'll stroke it up at the top a couple times and measure it again. I might have to use a short stone, but it shouldn't be a problem getting that out. We're good now. Yep, we're fine. We just gotta let her set. So it's at 0, and then I'm at the size of my piston, like I said, and then I'll decide what I want to put in there for clearance. The customer told me what he kind of wanted, so he runs this pretty hard, so we're not going to put the piston in real tight. So okay, here we are on the 383 that I'm finishing up, and usually the last thing I always do is my pushrod geometry. And what I use is, I think I've gone over this before, but this is a snap-on compression tester. Take the Schrader valve out of it. I got a couple test springs. Obviously this one's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but I just bend them up out of TIG wire. That gives me enough tension. And put a little black marker on it with a little yellow oxide paste paint. It used to be oil-based. This is water. Not quite as good as the old stuff, but it still does the job. So I check the geometry that way. I'm not going to get into exactly how I do this because everybody's got their own way. And I verify the tracking and the pattern, and I try to reduce the pattern down to the less width that I have, or the least amount of width. Sorry about that. English is my second language. So anyways, I have this tester, and I bought this, man, I don't know, 25 years ago. And that takes in half the stem width and the roller tip. And then at half lift, this determines where you need to be with the calculation of half the stem and half the roller tip for the roller rocker. That usually gets you pretty damn close, and I usually bring that out, and sometimes you can get it real close and sometimes you can't. It has a lot to do with whose rocker arms you use. I'm not going to get into whose rocker arms I use either. Because that's just going to open up a big can of worms, and I don't really care to get involved with that. But this is pretty much how I set them up. Bolt the head down for keeps, put some air in the cylinder, take the 2 springs off, go through, check the geometry, check the piston to valve clearance at that point in time, which is with these engines with the small cams that I use in them. And they're not really small, but you know, when I say small, you know, I build engines with 850 lift cams in them with 850 lift. So this is a small cam for what I consider, but it's a fine cam for the street. Sorry about getting off on that. So, and then I've got a coupler that fits on my air truck. that adapts to this air chuck for the snap-on, and plug it in, charge it up. You of course have a remote spring compressor tool for this that takes these off, and I'll put the springs back on. So I'm pretty much done with this. We have a Sun Aluminum small block Chevrolet heads. The customer checked piston to valve clearance and says he has plenty and wants me to cut 30 thousandths. That's where I'm going to stop at and look, make sure we're not catching the seats, but we're going to cut them until we catch the seats. And when I'm taking this much off this head, obviously we want to level it, so we dial indicated it and we leveled it with a level, and then dial indicated it across the deck. I've measured this boss here and this boss here, and I've got it on the paper. I have the head marked, so I know this is number one head. So I know what this thickness is and this thickness is on each one of them towers. So when I get to cutting, if by chance I get sidetracked or anything, I know exactly how much I've taken off because I have that measurement already established, and all I have to do is measure it again, and that'll tell me where I'm at. So I'm going to fire up the machine and see how flat we're setting with the head right now. Taking about a 3/1000 cut. We're going to start counting from that cut right there. So we got 10 more cuts to do. This is the last cut on the cylinder head. This is 50 thousandths I took off this head, and this is where I'm going to stop.